Alright, hey everybody, it's Thor here, and I wanted to do a quick stream just to kind of cover one of the specific features that we've been talking about in Battle for Azeroth on Discord and in Facebook with our guild. Mostly this is directed at folks who lead raids and communities, or also all of the folks in our specific community on Feathermoon, the guys who have raided with us in the Anvil, those of you who do World PvP and RP events alongside members of the Thundering Hammer clan. Today what I want to look at is this guilds and communities feature. So the new guild and communities UI is found right where your guild stuff has always been. It's right down here on your menu panel, but instead of just taking you to the guild interface, now everything from the guild interface is still there, but instead of just taking you to that, it also now includes some extra layers, and that's kind of what I want to talk about. Now, obviously the first thing that you probably noticed as soon as it came up, if you haven't heard about this or seen it already, persistent chat. Now, by itself, that would be a huge feature addition, and it's one that obviously we've been waiting for a long time. But that's not really the biggest thing. It's part of a whole new social interface that they've brought into the WoW client, and that's what we want to look at today. Now, if you've been paying attention, you know that Blizzard's been implementing all of these social features, like for instance with the Battle.net client itself. When you pull up the Battle.net app, obviously this is what you see, and they've got the new social tab here, and of course they've got these new groups that you've been able to create, right? And obviously it's a battle tag built group. You connect with people not based on character name, but on their battle tag. Doesn't matter what game they're in. Obviously, a whole bunch of them are in World of Warcraft right now. But, you know, whether they're in Destiny or Hearthstone or Overwatch or whatever, you can connect with them and you can talk with them here. Not a lot of people are using it because, frankly, it just duplicates a lot of stuff that we're already doing in Discord. When we go back to that guild interface here, you'll notice that there's that community. Now obviously this is in beta, so it's not directly connected to the already created community, but if you are in any of those chat groups through the Battle.net app, they're going to show up right here in your guild and communities list, right there underneath whatever guild you're already in. And that's great because that's, of course, one of the reasons that a lot of people haven't been using Blizzard's social tab is because, man, you got to get outside of the client, you got to alt tab out, and then, you know, you're having that conversation, but you've got the game running, and so there just hasn't been a lot of real adoption of it. Well, this is going to bring it into the client along with that persistent chat, so that's super useful. But that's not even really the thing that I wanted to get at and talk about today. That's cool. On the bottom level, you know, you've got your guilds completely unchanged. Everything's the same as it always has been, right? You got the guild info is here, your message of the day, the news feed, all of that. You've got your guild controls. If you're a guild master, you can control ranks and permissions and bank tabs and all that. That's all still there, right? All your guild perks are still there. Your roster, changing people's ranks, all that. None of that's changed, right? The only thing that's really changed with the guild side is just the persistent chat feature, right? And then on the top level, you've got those B tag connections, those B tag communities and groups where you can't really do anything in game together, but at least you can chat with people who are in different games as long as they're still logged in to the Blizzard chat client and doing things in the Blizzard ecosystem. You can still get a hold of them. But they've also added, and this is what's really cool and exciting, they've also added this middle layer in between those two layers. And that's what I really wanted to bring up. This middle layer is what they call World of Warcraft communities. And with this middle layer, it works kind of like guilds in that you invite people on a per character basis, right? You don't invite them based on B tag. You still have to invite their character, but you're not restricted to just your server or your server group, right? Like, so with us, we're Feathermoon and Scarlet Crusade. We can invite anybody on Feathermoon or anybody on Scarlet Crusade into the guild. But with these guild or these World of Warcraft communities, you're not restricted to that. It doesn't matter what server they're on. As long as they're in your region, you're going to be able to invite them into a World of Warcraft community. And what's more, and this is a great thing, is that it also adds some of the functions that you expect from your guild interface. You can take a look at the whole roster, and they've got roles. Now there's only 4 roles currently: owner, leader, moderator, and member, and everybody from moderator on up has permission to invite characters into the community. Member's the only one that doesn't have that permission, and you can't adjust those ranks currently, but looking forward, it would not surprise me if that's something that got changed later on down the road, right? And of course, yes, you've got persistent chat here, and that's great. They also have access to the calendar. So this is cool. You can create calendar events that are community events instead of guild events, and then anyone that's in the community, no matter what server they're on, can sign up for that event. And of course you can invite them all in one fell swoop using the invite members button. Of course, you know, if you've done that before, you know that it usually doesn't work very well because not everybody's online at the same time, but at least they've got the calendar invite there. They can see it coming, they can sign up for it. And so as a leader in any one of these groups, you've got the ability, right? You can just create a regular old event and invite people just manually. You can create guild events, of course, just like you've always been able to. And now you'll have this new option for create a community event. And of course, there's a new drop-down menu for that. So you pick which community you're creating it for. Of course, that means, yes, absolutely, you could be a part of multiple different communities. And obviously we're going to see a lot of that take place. There's going to be people who are just going to have this bar over here. It's just going to be completely full, right? They'll have their guild on top, and then there'll be like 3 or 4 or 10 different communities that they're in, just like you on your Discord. You know, you're going to see a lot of that evolution now. Just like with Blizzard's attempt to copy other things that Discord has done or other apps have done, yeah, you're going to see some people that just don't adopt it, don't pick up on it, because it's one extra step that they don't need. But I think that this particular level of cooperation and engagement is going to prove really useful for a lot of folks. Now, I don't think, based on what I've seen, that this is meant in any way to replace guilds. There's no custom ranks, there's no tabards, there's no shared bank, no tag above your head. It seems like Blizzard still thinks of guilds as the heart of their in-game community. But it does seem to be a recognition that over the course of 7 expansions, and of course with the ubiquitous nature of server transfers, that you know, we've got friends spread all over the place, and they recognize that, you know, there needs to be some way to keep everybody connected. If you're a guild or a raid leader like me, you've probably, just watching this, already thought of a dozen applications for this feature. Now, for my community in particular, and those of you who are members of Thundering Hammer Clan or who have, you know, been part of the things that we do, this part is totally for you. For us, this is going to be a pretty big deal, because this kind of gets at the things that we've been doing and who we are for a long time. You know, ever since Classic, we've been dedicated to building partnerships that go outside of just our guild. And part of that comes from growing up in the Horde community on Feathermoon. You know, we were a smaller population server and had this 3-to-1 disadvantage in population versus the Alliance. And so if you were Horde in Classic on Feathermoon, you didn't have any choice. You had to work with other guilds to get things done. I mean, our very first Onyxia kill came because our 2 biggest Horde guilds got together and worked together to get enough people keyed to do the Oni fight over and over until we finally got it down. And when we finally did get that kill, there was like a dozen different guilds represented in the membership of that raid group, and for a long time after that, our Onyxia raids were very much like that. And anytime we went after a world boss like Kazakh or Azuragos, you know, all of those things were always multi-guild affairs, and there might be one guild leading it, but there was this broad cooperation across the Horde. And as a guild for Thundering Hammer Clan, that's kind of what we came up in. So in December of 2005, When I sat down with some other leaders of other smaller guilds and we founded the Anvil Raid, that's why we were doing it. It's because we saw a lot of smaller guilds that needed a way to get into in-game content. And so for us, our raid has always been a multi-guild raid. And then when we lead World PvP events, we're always bringing in folks from all of our allied guilds and our friends and neighbors on Feathermoon, Scarlet Crusade, and even other RP servers all over the place. And hey, when we hosted the Kosh Arc, man, we had hundreds of Horde players from over 20 different servers came together. We created the biggest cross-realm Horde RP event that had ever been hosted. This sort of cooperation across the entire Horde, it's always been central to who we are as a community. And when we talk about Horde core, you know, we're not just talking about killing the Alliance, although that's a central part of it, but we're talking about cooperating with other members of the Horde in other guilds and other parts of the community to do the stuff. You know, this has always been central to our identity. So we're here to promote Horde community and culture, and man, this tool, this new communities feature, it's going to make so many of the things that we do so much easier to manage, and it's going to allow us to throw the doors open and get even more people engaged. And it's not just going to help us. Think about other cross-server communities like Hydra, or those guild and raid leader co-ops that you see popping up on Facebook and in other places. They're all going to stand to benefit from this change. So if you're part of a community that includes leaders and players from multiple different guilds and even multiple different servers, this feature is tailored right for you. Now, I know that I've seen some concern voiced about this feature in other places. Some people are like, you know, running around with their hair on fire. Oh, this is the end of guilds as we know it, or this is just another move for casuals. It's going to encourage people to go solo and put the final nail in the coffin for group play and guilds and all of that. And you know, right, I get that, right? But I don't, that's a hot take, and I don't feel like it really stands up to actual scrutiny. I mean, I'm sympathetic to the criticism, right? Because I've gone there plenty of times before. Yes, there are some real tangible ways in which the looking for guild and looking for raid features kind of helped deteriorate our server cultures. And then when we had all of the coalescing and everything, just it became less and less important and people became more anonymous. But I think that's happening in gaming all over the place. That's not really just a WoW problem. And this is, I know that our guilds and other healthy guilds like ours were founded in a more connected type of environment and nurtured in that. But we're still here, right? And if you run a guild like ours, you're still here. Yeah, there's a lot of toxicity out there, but to this day, the absolute best way to experience World of Warcraft, the conduit that keeps people engaged in the game for the longest stretches of time, and which gives them the most memorable experiences, is part of a healthy guild and raid community. The fact is, being part of a community can be challenging, and a lot of people don't engage in it because of that challenge. And building and maintaining a community can be even harder. I mean, if it were easy, there would never have been a need for the Group Finder tool in the first place, and all of the changes that WoW has been through over the year, one thing has never changed. There's no real Warcraft experience unless people come together to have fun and overcome their shared challenges. We've got lifelong friendships, even marriages and families have been forged in the communities that have been built within this context. And personally, I feel like this new community feature, it's just another tool that's going to help leaders who are willing to invest in the other people who play the game to create great communities and great communal experiences. So, if you are a part of our community, and you know, not just the members of the Thundering Hammer clan, but the folks who have been in it with us, you know, who have done things with us across the game, you're going to get an invitation. It's going to look just like this. We're going to take the Anvil and the Horde channels that have been kind of central to our networking process for PvE and PvP on Feathermoon for all of these years, and we're going to try and port that into this new communities feature. And I've already got several guild masters on board who are like, yes, this is exciting, let's do it. So you're going to see an invite either from me, or from one of our raid officers, or from one of our guild officers, or from your own guild master or one of his or her guild officers. They're going to send you an invite, and we're going to ask you to please come on board, join us in the Anvil, and we're going to do some great things together. I mean, this is perfect, right? This is exactly what the Horde is about, right? It's a confederation of these independent clans and tribes all coming together to crush our enemies and secure peace for our people. And that's what's happening here. We've got multiple guilds and people from multiple different servers that are all going to come together to be part of this thing that we do. I mean, you know, there's a lot of people that are already on the Discord with us. There are people that are already connected to us, but this is just going to make the stuff that we do even easier to manage. And really excited about it, really looking forward to it, and I really hope that you guys will join us. It's going to be tons of fun. I think that we're going to have a huge roster to help us. So are you ready to hit war mode with the pack of wolf-riding bloodthirsty maniacs? Are you looking for a group to tackle that first dungeon run with, but you don't want to pug it up? Needing just to fill a couple of spots in your raid roster, but you want people that you can trust, who have been part of, you know, communities that you're connected to? Well, the Anvil's going to be there for you. And if you know other guild and raid leaders who are our sort of people, I encourage you to send them our way. Tell them to go talk to Bright Clouds, or tell them to talk to Eben, or tell them to talk to me. And we're going to try and get them connected and build an even larger community than we've already got to do great fun things together. That's it for this one. If you have any questions about the social features, about this awesome new guild and communities panel that we've got, or the way that it works, just hit me up on Discord or talk to us on our Facebook page. Check us out at Thundering Hammer on Facebook. That's about it. Throm Ka Warriors, we're going to see you in war mode hopefully next week.